Okay, I have a PLAAFP template in Google Doc, and the assumption is this is a standardized template that's going to be used to bring in DORA and ADAM data. I'm also logged into the Let's Go Learn system, and we're going to go ahead and create a PLAAFP and set some future goals for a student Emily, which is a fictitious name. So first of all, let's go ahead and come over here. So let's say I'm going to start Emily Atkinson, so I'm getting her name in there. Obviously, this first section of the PLAAFP, really, you're going to fill out what is the student's disability. Again, I'll put her name in there. What areas? Probably with Let's Go Learn, you're going to be dealing with reading and mathematics. Okay. The first area is going to be math. And obviously, put the student's name right here. Reading. Okay, so obviously you'd fill out the rest of this, but I'm going to go ahead and just skip this information. Okay, I'm continuing into the data review section. So the idea here is we're going to go ahead and do this using Let's Go Learn data. So Emily Atkinson is receiving instruction, whether it's through resource inclusion for reading and math. I just put that in there. All right, so first thing we're going to do is let's go ahead and look at some ADAM data. Okay, so I'm going to go over here, and this is where I have to decide what I'm going to focus on for this student. So let's take a look at this student here. These are her total score in math. She's a 5th grader. Numbers and operations, measurement, data, geometry, algebraic thinking. So these are strands of mathematics, right? So let me go ahead and just bring up the special education report. So here's her score. She has a total score of 2.32, a numbers and operations score of 2.3. I'm going to go ahead, I'll just copy this, and I'm going to paste it into a blank document for now. So I'm going to take the numbers and operations. So I'm going to take that, copy that. So based on the data from ADAM Diagnostic, it's at, what's her instructional level? Right there, numbers and operations, 2.3, right? So that's a GLS score. All right, now let's go ahead, since we're going to focus on numbers and operations, let's look at 3 strengths in that area and 3 weaknesses in that area. Okay, so we'll go back to the report. So right here, I have numbers and operations selected, I have present level, I'm going to include the GLS score, and I'm going to say refresh. Okay, so now if we look at this, numbers and operations technically has 14 subtests in it, right? So these later ones are advanced stuff. We're not going to worry about that as much. But looking at the beginning ones, we see some strengths. Look at these ones where she has a 2.9. Counting numbers, right? Comparing and ordering is low. Addition of whole number, subtraction of whole number. Those are some pretty good ones. So I'm going to go ahead and include this. I'll copy this. Again, let's bring it back into our blank document. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and just get rid of my formatting. So within numbers, she can count by hundreds and thousands, so that's great. So that's a strength. That's a 2.9 grade level area. So I'm going to paste that in there into my PLAAFP. Okay, next I'll come over here. She can add multiple digits without regrouping. That's super. And then the last one is she can subtract multi-digits without regrouping. So these are actual present levels. Remember, the assessment does multiple questions at each of these skill concept levels, so we know that this is true. It's not just based on one item, like so many other benchmark tests. Sorry, put that right there, paste, and you got to deal with your formatting a little bit, so I'll just select all this and just make this 11 points. Okay. And then also, sorry, I like it looking good. Okay, so there we go, we got it. That's her strengths. So now let's look at the weaknesses. Now this one's a little tougher because she was at the bottom, she had no skill or concept mastered actually at some of these areas where it says 0, place value. Emily has no mastery of the first skill within the subtest. So normally it's just a reference and actual skill. There is none. So I'm just going to list these areas, place value, multiplication, and division of whole numbers as something that we're going to work on. Those are weaknesses, right? So we'll come back over here. Emily mastery of place values skills. Okay, so beginning multiplication skills, and then same thing we're going to do for division. Emily has no mastery of beginning division skills. Now, if she actually had some, we would be listing the lowest level skill and we can just copy it. But this is sort of a threshold area, so it's a little different. Okay, great. So we have this now, right? This is great. This is based on data from the student. This is solid present level skills. I'm looking at that. So now let's go ahead and go into reading. So I'm going to toggle over to reading. And so I'm going to go over here, go to Active Pulse ELA. And this is our reading: high frequency words, word recognition, phonics, phonemic awareness, spelling, vocabulary comprehension. Total weighted score is 2.7. So for Emily, let's go ahead and go to the SPED report. And if we look at this here, we can see that she's in late fifth grade. A couple areas I want to work on is probably high frequency words. That's pretty low, 1.5, and phonics is 1.17. And where she's probably okay is oral vocabulary and comprehension, right? So that's interesting. So we have a choice here. What do we want to choose? I think I'm going to choose, as far as targets, high frequency words and phonics, because those are measurable. And if we teach her skills in it, we're going to actually see those skills go up. So go ahead, come here, paste that. I'm just going to go ahead and probably do these two like this. Okay, so get rid of formatting, copy those two. Okay, based on the data from DORA, where's she at? This is where she is at. She's at high frequency words 1.5 and phonics 1.17. So these are GLS, just in case there's some confusion here. Now, 2 strengths and 2 weaknesses. Okay, so I'm going to say the strength area is going to be oral vocabulary and comprehension. Now, comprehension is still a little low, but given that she has such low decoding, low sight words, and low phonics, and she still has a second grade comprehension, that's not bad. I'm going to go ahead now, come over here to oral vocabulary, and let's look at present level, refresh. So right here, Emily can recognize general vocabulary orally when leveled up to about mid-4th grade. So that's great. So I'm actually going to take that and just copy that directly, since it's one line, and we'll paste that in there. So we got her one strength, and let's go ahead and grab her other strength, which we said was reading comprehension. Refresh. Again, it's present level. Okay, now for those of you who want to have a narrative, we actually have a really good narrative right here. This talks about the overall ability across all these subtests. So this is a great narrative based on Emily's data. So if you do have a place for that, you could use that, bring that into your text file, modify it, but it's generated specifically for Emily, right, based on all of these scores. So that's a great option as well. But in this particular template, we don't need it. All right, so let's go ahead and look at some weaknesses. So I'd say the weaknesses are going to be high frequency words and phonics, because that's what we're going to want to focus on. So let's go back over here, and we'll go ahead and go to high frequency words, refresh, and now we see Emily can identify with automaticity up to mid-1st grade high frequency words. Okay, that's a present level, but that's also a little bit of weakness because it's a little low. So we'll go ahead and put that in there. And then we'll do the same thing for phonics. Phonics, refresh. Okay, Emily can read some words with short vowels, right? So it's a low 1st grade. Okay, so that's good to know. So again, that's considered a weakness. Okay, boom. So I got all that. Now, normally when you're doing this PLAAFP, you're going to want to make maybe a reflection on the previous goals. I don't have those right now. Let's just say, for instance, that this was maybe a brand new student, and so we don't have previous goals yet. But because I'm determining the PLAAFP and the present levels, I can actually determine my goals for next period, right? So let's go ahead and do that. So we have an extra page right here. So now let's go back to math. And now we'll come back over here to Emily, go to the special education report. All right, we said we want to do numbers and operations. So now we're going to do numbers operations. We're going to go and grab some skills. Let's say 3 skills. And we're going to include the GLS, hit refresh. Now, remember what we said, the weak areas, right? So let's go back to our original PLAAFP. We said the weak areas were place value, multiplication, and division. So we want to have some skills in those areas. So I'm going to go ahead and go over here, back to this. Now, you don't have to list all of these. This is probably, it depends on how detailed you want to get because there's a lot. But these are very discrete, specific skills that you can teach. So I'm going to go back over to my document here. And I'm going to go ahead and paste this. If we look at the first one here, place value. All right. Sorry, I just took away all my formatting. So the place value starts off at 2 digits, right? Identify place value in 2 digits. So let's go ahead and go back over there. All right, I'm going to delete it. So these are the place value goals I want to set. So maybe when I say, look, if I could teach 2 digits and 3 digits, that gets her up to a 2.9 grade level, which is pretty good. So maybe we want to do both of these. Okay. The next thing we said we want to do multiplication. Let's see if we really want to do that. Multiplication to 3.2. All right. So yeah, I think we can because her adding was solid, right? So let's go ahead. Let's start doing the very basic level of multiplication is modeling multiplication. So this is a good one. I'm just going to go ahead and copy. Well, I'm just going to copy it from right here. It's a little easier. But I could also just grab it. So that's going to be another skill. All right, and then we did talk about division. So we have to decide whether we want to do that or not. I would say under division, we use manipulatives to model division as the inverse of multiplication. So at basic level, this concept is definitely something we could probably do. All right, so let's take that. The very, very first skill of these 2 subtests are pretty basic and they're very conceptual. So, okay, now let me go ahead and take a look at this. My formatting's all a little wonky, so let's go ahead and go over here. 11, Calibri, okay. All right, there we go. 4 skills, I like it, right? Shoot, sorry about that. I pasted these into the wrong area. So it should be pasted right here. Okay, so the next, we're targeting the next skill concept that we taught based on current present level. So this is what we're going to teach next. So all right, and we can go ahead, however you want to summarize this, we're going to be, strengthen her numbers and operation skills, raise her number of operation skills up by 1 grade level. You can do whatever you want. Because essentially, if we come back over here and we see this student, if we can teach her those 4 skills, this is going to raise her place value up to 2.9. It raises her multiplications up to 3.2 and division up to 3.3 from 0. That's going to have a real big impact on this numbers and operation score, easily bring it up to 3.3. Okay, so you could determine how you want to do that. So it could be, expected to raise her numbers and ops skills. Let's go back up to the present level. 2.3, right? From 2.3 GLS to 3.3 GLS. When you test again, formative testing, it'll automatically regenerate those scores and you don't even have to worry about calculating it. It's all automatic. Okay, so let's go ahead now, and the second area is reading. right? So we're going to say that expected to improve her sight words, her high frequency words and phonics skills. I'm just going to do that for now. So here's what we want to do. We come back over here, go back to ELA, and normally I would just stick with math and then reading and do both of it, but for this purposes I'm toggling. Okay, so we're going to want to work on these two. So let's go over to the report, and now we're going to go ahead and choose 2 skills, include GLS and high frequency words. So this is it's a little easier right here. So it's just saying we're going to go ahead and teach her this next sets of sight words, right? So we'll copy this. Okay, so I can go ahead and just, actually, let me just get rid of these little bullets. Oops. Okay, so your 2 goals right here. Oh, I got to do a little tweaking here. 2 point, boom. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and fix my formatting. There we go. All right, so that's the first 2 ones are going to be sight word skills. And now I come back over here, and we're going to change this to phonics. Refresh. Okay, there it is. So we're going to teach, we'll read, so our next goal is that she reads all short vowels, and then we're going to start working with consonant blends. So this will bring up to 1.5 and 1.83 respectively in terms of GLS scores. So every single skill and concept is associated with a GLS score, right? Okay, so I'm just going to, I'll copy this one at a time this time so that it doesn't look so messy. Okay, there you have it. So I have these goals here, and so later on when I update it, I may want to copy these. Later I need to reflect on it, and then I could paste it into our goals to reflect on, right? Hopefully that makes sense. You can see what's great about this is the PLAAFP is filled out. It's based on real data from the student, present levels, and I also have my next set of instructional goals set up for the next period. And these are going to be measurable, so next time we come into it. When I come back to the system, right, as the student takes another assessment, whether a full assessment or any of these individual tests or any skill quiz, like if they just get tested on short vowel or second grade sight words, that data flows into this data set. All your totals are calculated and updated, and when you come back to this report, all the scores are updated. So you don't have to do a full assessment. You can just do quizzes or subtest assessments, and the data all flows into this, right? So here it is. If I wanted to, by the way, if I want to take a look at numbers and operations, I could just look at it right here. So we were targeting place value and also targeting multiplication and division. So we're going to work on 6 skills across those 3 areas, and when we test the student on it, Emily, these scores will automatically update, and then all those scores will be updated, and we can go ahead and update our progress report. Okay, thanks.